Hello everyone, this is Sarah from Defection Gaming bringing you the March 13th and March 15th patch update. Sorry it hasn't come out so sooner, but this is the first time I've actually had a few minutes to myself over the last couple of days, so let's get right to it. New god Aphrodite has been brought into the game. I've managed to play her in two conquest games, and she's very interesting and unique god. I'll go through what I think's good and what I think's bad about her as we go through her abilities. Her first ability, her passive's called Loving Embrace. Gaining Aphrodite's favour and a blessing that is 30% of all mana gained by Aphrodite is granted to her soulmate. Essentially, when she has a soulmate, she has like this pink line in between them that she uses with her kiss ability. And it's sort of like a pink bond that goes about a little bit further than Ra's Celestial Beam. Now, when you're connected, it gives the person that you're connected to certain benefits, such as 30% of your mana gained. You have to be very, very close to them, and certain things make it very easy for this bond to be broken. Gods with blink abilities like Loki and Thor tend to be able to run out of your range a heck of a lot faster than you can get it up, so you sometimes have to reapply your link. However, if you push at the same time as them, it shouldn't be too problematic. However, also, Loki's invisibility spell cancels the link entirely. Now, whether this will be modified, I don't know, but it wasn't modified in the March 15th hotfix. So let's assume that they mean for Loki's invisibility to be a totally solo thing, for him not to be connected to Aphrodite, because he'd be able to get a lot more burst on if he was connected to her. Now, go through her abilities. Aphrodite blows a kiss to an allied god, making them her soulmate, giving them both plus 4 to 20% movement speed. And if the kiss hits an enemy god, they are stunned for 1 second, and Aphrodite's soulmate gets jealous, making them deal 4 to 20% additional damage for 8 seconds. The cooldown is 12 seconds at max level and 16 at lower level. Really, I cannot emphasize enough how beastly this is, how crazy this extra additional damage would be on a physical carry late game. If you were ganking from the side, for example, an Arachne sets up, dashes behind someone, throws down her web to make sure they can't get away quickly, hits them a couple of times, you stun them, she hits them a couple more times, jumps on their back to make sure they're silenced so that they can't react and do any spells, and yeah, it's impossible. You're dead. You are officially dead. It does way too much damage to be at all countered in any real way. A 20% damage increase is a lot, especially late game. Towards the beginning of the game, it helps, for sure. It helps. An 8-second 20% power increase is huge almost anywhere in the game. I'm not 100% sure whether this is worth maxing out straight away, because at the moment, I think her Lovebirds is probably the skill you want to max out first. And I think depending on who you're playing with, whether a kiss or a back off would be best second. Obviously, Undying Love, obviously ultimate first, but it will be left to be play tested where her best skills would be. But I'm pretty sure that her sustain on Lovebirds is the best thing. Anyway, so the kiss is a decent stun. I think they should reduce the cooldown ever so slightly to 10 seconds, because when Aphrodite is alone, she is very, very underpowered. Very, very underpowered. Her ability, she does such a small amount of damage. She's got huge sustain, but she doesn't have a huge amount of damage at all. So when you're in lane, you need to be laned with someone who is really strong, otherwise you're going to struggle. Anyway, her back-off ability. Agitated by the attention, Aphrodite commands enemies to get away from her, doing 90 to 370 plus 60% of your magical power as magical damage around her, knocking them back. If Aphrodite has a soulmate, they get agitated again instead, and the damage originates around them, dealing the same damage and slowing by 25% for 2 seconds. This is very interesting. I really like the idea that things that you do impact other people. I think that makes teamwork and combative thing very, very exciting. For example, if a Thor dives in, you've still got your contact, you pop your kiss to stun them in place. Thor gets a couple of his twirly-whirly things off and a Minonia's attunement, and you can blast them with your back off. It's an extra damage skill on the opponent that you are hitting really hard. It's a guaranteed skill. And it's her strongest ability, pretty much her only real damage spell. And it's quite good as a damage spell. It does quite a lot of damage towards the end of the game if you've got a bit of magic power. And I'll tell you how I like to build her in a minute. If you've got a fair amount of magic power, it can go up to over 500, 600 maybe. And I know that's not a huge amount of damage, but that is potentially a third of the health of an end game Anubis. And if you can burst down a character quicker, then that's all brilliant. Essentially all it is a very, very decent spell to do damage, and the fact that it originates around the person you're teamed with means that probably a melee physical carry would be best for this spell, because ranged physical carriers don't particularly like to be too close. So I'm thinking for her best combination something like a Kali or something, or Hercules. Hercules or Aphrodite would be crazy because Hercules has infinite health. Lovebirds could heal him up even more. Could back off people. God, all the damage increase that he's been getting lately. I think Hercules Aphrodite might be a very, very strong lane to contend with at the moment. Anyway, that's just that. The slow is also not insignificant because you can keep people in range. It's essentially a creeping curse that you do for 2 seconds, so you get an extra couple of decent hits in. So it's a decent spell, and it's interesting that it arises from the person that you're laning with. So it's a very interesting concept. However, if you are teamed up with someone, you can't do it around yourself. So if you're ganked, then you don't have your pushback spell. But we'll just have to see how the combinations work out. Lovebirds. Aphrodite calls a flock of beautiful doves that fly towards the area in front of her. The doves circle around the enemies in its path, damaging enemies in front for 10 to 38 damage, 15% of your magical power. Magical damage for 0.5 seconds for 3 seconds. So it does a fair amount of damage. Nothing dangerous. It does 6 ticks. Nothing too bad. It could probably get up to a little bit over 600 damage at the end, but as slow damage. The main thing is the amount of health you get from it, which is crazy good. You always want to max Love Burst first, really, if you're in a lane with someone, because it's just such good sustain. I even see it being nerfed slightly and have a 14-second cooldown universally, because it's at the moment it's quite beastly end game when you're 12 seconds Lovebird, and you can just keep spamming it because you've got infinite mana by that stage. So whoever you can practically heal people up in 20 seconds. A person will be pretty much max health if they pop a potion, and you pop that lot. Is brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. And it's very useful because it does an okay amount of damage, but it's not really the damage that you want. You want the healing is the major part, because a small ticking damage is fine, and it helps get people down in your lane. But the main evil thing is the amount of crazy ass sustain that you get from her. And I think that her combined with sustainy characters, Hercules, Cupid, anyone with any kind of healing ability, it'll just be pretty much an unkillable lane. They may not be able to push you very hard, but it'll be an unkillable lane. And if you've got one unkillable lane, then what can the enemy do? You have to lose the other 2 lanes, because you're not going to lose. It can pretty much guarantee you not losing a lane if you've got this, unless you do something really silly. But I cannot emphasize enough how giant the sustain from this is. It is really, really big. Undying Love. Aphrodite pledges Undying Love to herself and her soulmate. While this is active, her and her soulmate are invulnerable to all damage from 0.8 to 2 seconds. All crowd control effects are also removed when activated. I think this fits her very well as an ultimate. It makes people able to tower dive late game without, well, tower dive mid game without worrying about taking an extra tower hit. It's essentially an invincibility spell. You are invulnerable, you have crowd control. It essentially gets you or your friend out of a sticky situation straight away. If you pop this with sprint or something, they won't be able to catch you. But saying that, at the beginning it's only 0.8 seconds. I found that to be an incredibly short time. Just crazy. I think they'll move it to 1 second, 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 2 or something like that. It's a very short cooldown. It's got a short cooldown. It's only 70 seconds. That's once a minute. Near as makes a difference. So you'll be throwing this out you'll be throwing it out often. But so pretty much every time a person is in danger, you can save them, or at least give them a very good opportunity to be saved. But anyway, as I was saying, the 0.8 seconds is only really useful against things. I haven't tested it against an Ares ult. It might be useful against an Ares ult, we don't know. But if it is, then that would make the lane which Ares is in completely useless. Well, not useless, he'd still be able to do lots of damage, but his pull would be cancelled every single time, because this is up twice, I think, in his ultimate's cooldown cycle. So you're gonna have an Undying Love, and if not, they've still got beads and Aegis, so it'll be tough for him. But essentially, it's only really big things like Ymir's explosion ultimate that it can just take straight away, if you time it right, and Sobek's ultimate if you time it right. It's only because it's such a short duration, you're going to have to get it pitch perfect, so it's more of a skill shot, and I like that about skill shot. New skins: Hercules' Grand Slam skin, which I think looks pretty good. Aphrodite Magic Strix, which is good. They the recolors they've been doing is very, very good. Convention 2013 Kali skin, which is sort of like a Ra kind, a Rara monkey red and black thing, which looks pretty good. And an Alienware Ra skin, which was available through promotions. I haven't seen that one, but if it's like Ra with an alien head, that would be awesome. Like the alien symbol in the Alienware laptops. Anyway, let's go through. The teams are now called clans, which I think is a pretty decent little change to because it sounds more god and mythology-like if they're called clans. All gods have been rebalanced, either assassin, bruiser, tank, mage, support, or carry. God tooltips have also been adjusted to provide information more succinctly. So this is basically a help for new players, essentially. The guides menu has undergone significant enhancement. This changes include significant updates to the character builder and selections for video tutorials, god guides, community websites, and more. Essentially, they're trying to make it easy for new players, which is obvious, seeing as it's so close to release, that they want to make it a big game and try and get people interested and playing it as quickly as possible. So making it easier for newer players to get in is what they should be doing, and I think that's going to be their focus for a couple more weeks now. Consumables currently equipped by players are now shown in the in-game scoreboard, which is absolutely fantastic. You can see what people are running, you can see if people are running loads of wards early, you can see if they're using beastly big potions, because those big potions still don't, like Potion of Magical Might, etc. They still don't. They have this potion's been activated, but unless you see that, you don't know they've got a huge bonus to their damage output, and it could be not cheating, but it could be an unfair advantage if they go in thinking, oh, I'll be able to win this fight, and you'll turn around and go, nope, I do 20% extra damage, and they die straight away. It's not necessarily unfair, but if people have calculated everything, spent ages calculating, and a little technicality ruins their day, I just think, you know, it's nice so that people have all the information. So I'd like that potions, big potions, to have like little animations like God's glows an outline or something if they have one of those equipped. Or potentially a buff girdle would also be good, so people could know that they've got it. Anyway, that's just a current little thing, but I'm happy that they've got consumables in the thing. The Joust practice mode can now be played in co-op mode. In parties of up to 3, you will face off against 1 to 3 enemy gods based on your party's size. This is brilliant for helping us to train other people. I love this. It's a fantastic change, and I'm really, really glad they're bringing it in again. Something that they are planning to do for their newer players. Additional bot gods have been added to co-op practice arena. Kali, Sobek and Anubis join the fight. That's brilliant as well. A new jungle practice map has been added to your practice tab on the play menu. In this map you can practice fighting each type of jungle creep in a controlled environment. This is a genius change. Absolutely fantastic change. It means that people can play test jungling, and jungling is dying really as people tend to go roaming. They tend to go get one buff and then go to a lane and try and get a gank while keeping everyone in lane. We don't tend to see now dedicated roamers. Like Loki would be a dedicated roamer and spend no time in lane at all unless he was ganking the crap out of someone. So I think now we'll be able to have, and that was pretty much because of the jungle change, and this will be able to help us in all future jungle changes to get our roamers back out there and have more of an interesting game meta than just who's going to win the lane. But anyway, I'm really, really happy about that. And I might do a video about it depending on what we're doing. When creating a custom match, you can now choose to utilise the 4-ban draft pack mode, which allows each team to ban 2 gods, which is good, I think. Anyway, I think in custom match you want to be playtesting picks and bans, so adding this is a great feature. The visibility range of wards now shows more accurately on the minimap based on line of sight rules, so you'll be able to see where your ward can't see in certain places because of line of sight, which I think is great because it doesn't just have a big circle there showing something, but showing that the light is there, if you know what I mean, the light on the minimap, to show that it's not got the fog of war, but it won't show the enemy gods, and you only really notice them when they're halfway through it, and you're like, what? I should have seen them before. But anyway, health bars of Gold Fury, Towers, Phoenix, and Fire Giants have been modified. I've seen these, and I think that's fantastic. I'm so happy. They're a bit like gods now. They've got the little chunks. It's great. The modifications have been made to how sounds is attenuated in the jungle. I have no idea what that is, but I'm glad they've done it. Various cleanups have been made to the match lobby interface, which I have seen. You've got the new inks for each of the different type mode. Like you've got Conquest, you've got Hades, Ares standing like fighting Minotaurs. It looks awesome. It looks really, really cool. And hopefully they'll like chop and change, so they'll have a new god there every few weeks or every month or something, and it'll be it'll keep the environment of Smite looking fresh and updated and interesting, which I like. Various bug fixes and cleanups have been made to the tutorial. Well, I haven't seen this because I haven't used the tutorial for a while, but it's good that they've changed bug fixes. We always want to see the word bug fixes in every patch, because that means they're trying to update and help their game. Fixed an issue where enemy players caught inside of vortexes, Poseidon's Whirlpool, Hades, Pillar of Agony, were not being slowed when using basic attacks. I did notice that, and I'm glad they've made the change, because I was Kali with a Fatalis, and I was able to spring around there as much as possible. So I wasn't able to leave, but I was able to sort of run around so the enemies couldn't hit me as much. So, and they're in a vortex, so they should be pretty much steady still. Fixed an issue where a minion would not play a death animation correctly. I love the new minion's death animation, so an issue fix there is a good thing. Fixed an issue where Ao Kuang's Spirit Tempest ability would be invisible for players that did not see Ao Kuang when he fired it. Oh dear. I didn't see that. but it was invisible, so I probably wouldn't have. But I'm glad they fixed it. Obviously, an invisible shot somewhere is an unfair advantage, and any unfair advantages should be culled. Fixed an issue in which players could not get get stuck behind Fire Giant. This was noticeable so many times, especially if you played Arachne. You'd get stuck behind Fire Giant, you wouldn't be able to move, and it would be and I haven't died from that because I tend to only go for Fire Giant when I know I'm strong enough to take it, or if I'm in a party and doing it. So, but you do need to be careful with that. But I'm really glad they fixed that. Performance optimizations have been made for the death animations of other physical related effects. So there's been more death animations, which is good. Happy about that. More death animations for the creep. Several other UI elements have been undergone a polish pass. That's nice. Thank you, Hi-Res. Several crash conditions have now been fixed, which is great, because my Smite game crashed 4 times in a row the other day. I have no idea why. I haven't crashed yet, so let's hope that I still don't crash. Setting the world settings to low or lowest will disable ragdoll deaths as a performance boost, which is useful, because people playing on lower level PCs will be happy with those sorts of things. A variety of changes and improvements have been made to the sound music in the game. I have been hearing these, and they are awesome. Like when you killed someone, it makes a big sound, like trumpet blasts, and it's awesome. Fixed an issue where Vulcan's turrets would remain visible for a few seconds after death. It's useful to know when the turrets die, so I'm happy that that's been done. Quick spectator changes, I'll just read them, I won't go over them unless they're really useful. Added the first version of the isometric viewpoint, the to trigger isometric view, press the camera icon along the playback bar. By default, WASD moves the camera. The rotation of the camera is locked. Selecting a god from the upper roster of LMB will cause the camera to follow the actor. You see now that the consumables currently equipped by spectated players, performance optimizations, mana restore, and statuses have now been controlled by visibility settings. The team scoreboard can now be slid down out of view by pressing L button by default. The top center timer now reflects the time as seen during the gameplay, while the other timer on the playback controls and reflects the overall match time. Overhanging pieces of conquest maps, such as the top of the Fire Giant cave and the ceilings of the team bases, have been removed for better visibility. These map changes are only visible when spectating. Fix an issue where the camera could jolt to a different view after rewinding. So essentially, they're making spectator better, which is great. But now let's get on to the meat and potatoes of the patch, really. The god balance changes. Agni, his FX has been updated to look for looks and performance, which I have noticed and I very much approve of. Flame Wave, a bug has been fixed that allows the ability to do double damage under some conditions. Thank God. Agni was so overpowered in the mid lane because he was able, because you'd be at half health and then you'd be dead because he'd hit a Flame Wave and you thought you'd be able to get out in time after being hit by something, but he murders you straight away. It's quite annoying. Ares Shackle, fix the bugs when up very close. You'll not be able to apply another shackle. So essentially, you can get really close and sort of hit all your shackles into one god to do damage to them. Poseidon, changing tides passive. The rate at which the tide reduces has automatically been over time has been decreased, which is useful. Bonus scaling changed from quadratic to linear. And for the now uniformly scaled based on tide level, e.g. 50% tide level grants 50% max tide bonuses, which is fantastic. When you get up to the top, you'll be doing 29%, 28% additional damage. Well, it's been changed now, it was hotfixed, but that doesn't matter. But you'll be doing the maximum amount of damage and maximum amount of movement speed you can be doing, not just sort of like if you're very close to 15% additional speed and damage, then you won't be quite there. You won't be doing 14%, you'll still be doing 10%. This means that the way Poseidon flows as a character with his tides will be so much better. I'm really, really happy they made that change. Tidal Surge is number 1. Cooldown has been reduced from 12 seconds to 10 seconds at all ranks. Woohoo! And the damage increased for 20 for each rank. Woohoo! Essentially, they made his one better. Hooray! Because it was a very long cooldown, and his damage did suffer, but hopefully now that will be helpful. Trident, the percentage of the tide consumed is reduced from 35 to 15%, which is useful because people use it for tide, so it's good to see that they've made that smaller. Whirlpool, the percentage of the tide consumed by this is reduced from 35 to 25%. The pull-in has been slightly increased. So essentially, they're making it so essentially, almost everyone leads with Whirlpool because it keeps the enemy where they need to be, and then when the Whirlpool's over and it's done its damage, then they Tidal Surge to do damage, etc. So reducing the tide for this will mean that your Tidal Surge will be able to do more damage and your ult will be able to do more damage, etc. The pull-in's been slightly increased, which is good because you couldn't really feel it before, so it's good that it's been increased a little bit more. Release the Kraken! Increased outer radius damage has been increased from 120 to 240 to 170 to 270, so essentially it's been increased by 30 extra damage at max level, but 50 damage at the beginning, and sort of medium in the middle. Essentially, it wasn't doing that much damage before to anyone on the outside, especially at low levels, so I think they've just adapted it so that it will be slightly more useful. The sensor is perfect, absolutely perfect, but if you just miss it, then it's a 90-second ult for 100 damage, and now it's just 77. Now it's a little bit more damage, so at least, you know, it's better. Ra's Celestial Beam. This is a big change to Ra. The ability will now always hit its target once and never multiple times. We will evaluate the effects of this change on Ra closely. So, essentially, you could get, if people didn't know, Ra's Celestial Beam could hit multiple times. If a god was running sideways, for example, and you managed to hit them with your Celestial Beam in the middle, then you'd be able to hit them with the edge, and sometimes even the very outer edge. So you could hit from anywhere from 1 to 3 times, and I have got triple hits, so I do know it was possible to do. It made it so that Ra was inconsistent, and I think they're making it so that gods are consistent. This will have Ra will be significantly weaker until they tweak him, and they have tweaked him in the 15 hot patch, and I will go for gods in a moment, the hot fixes for the gods, and then go over general for the 15th, which is today. But I will talk more about Ra in a second. But essentially, this was a major power loss for him. I know a lot of the time you were only hitting it for once, but for a lot of the time you would hit 2. At least on gods especially, and it would do a lot more damage because it would do double damage. And taking this off means that his damage will be lower. He probably still won't be as people spent ages learning how to shoot the Celestial Beam in order to get multiple hits. I didn't do it personally because I'm not an incredibly competitive online player. I do play rank quite a lot, but it means that with the it just means his potential damage is lower. His potential damage on one skill is lowered by 50%, so he will be noticeably weaker. Whether this will change the ranked gameplay with him, I'm not sure. I don't think it will. I don't think overnight he will become a weak thing because he's always been really, really strong. So we'll just have to see what buffs he gets in the future. I think the 15th patch is a start, but I think they will buff him in about a week's time again, or go back to where Celestial Beam will do other things. So they kind of ignored it because it wasn't really broken, because it didn't get instant kills or anything. It was just a thing that happened occasionally to get you double hit. But anyway, we'll talk more about Ra in a second. Volcanic Overdrive. The cooldown on rank 4 and 5 now properly set to 90 seconds, and the mana cost for 4 and 5 now properly set to 100 seconds. Just set to 100 mana. Essentially, they're just making Vulcan, again, consistent, and this is what you want in a game. You want consistency. So anyway, that is the entirety of the Aphrodite God patch, and hopefully I'll be bringing a gameplay of her recent and soon when I get one of my mates online to play with us. Now, the gods for the hot fix on today, the 15th. I'll just go over the Doom Orb quickly. It now loses its stacks on Aphrodite, which I didn't notice, but that's lucky they put that in, because thinking about it, she could have become absolutely broken in terms of damage if people had figured that out. Gods, Agni's Flame Wave. The description updaters actually shows the damage on the skill screen, which is useful. to know how much damage you're doing. Aphrodite, the general, the LOD additions have been several fixes, and the miscellaneous sound fixes to start with, because she was doing some odd sounds occasionally. The kiss, the description has been updated to let players know that landing a kiss on a friendly god does not put the ability on cooldown. I think I missed that, but well, now I haven't missed it because it's just been told here. Back off, fixed an issue where the ability would not originate from Arachne when she was was her soulmate. And Lovebirds, the birds have had FX optimizations, and the description was updated to be more clear that the healing always occurs to her and her soulmate. It's useful to have these things, but noticeably nothing really has been changed for the god. They'll probably change her in a week to reduce her healing and increase her damage very slightly, would be what I would guess that they would do to Aphrodite, because on her own she is weak as water, but when she's with people she is quite strong. As a very, she's the strongest supporting god in the game without a doubt. She's so good. So after a week we'll be able to see kind of what the community's made of her, and she probably will get adjustments to her team presence and to her, you know, singular damage presence. But if they want to make it so that she's completely almost not worthless but really weak when she's not with someone, then this is what they could do. But noticeably they haven't changed the Loki not being targeted by your kiss, for example. Like as I said earlier, you would lose the link with the Loki if they went invisible. So that's something that could be said. Poseidon, LOD additions, which is good, and changing tides. Additional damage gained from increasing your tide levels been reduced from 30% to 20%. When I saw this first, I was like, well, that's not that bad because of the new scaling in the bar that we've got, which is fine. They haven't changed the movement speed, only the damage, if you'd notice. So he wasn't doing necessarily amazing damage, but essentially what this has done is shaved 10% off of your ultimate and 10% off of changing tides, and tidal surge. That's all it's done. Because Whirlpool wasn't really what you were getting 100% for. You were getting 100% damage for for tidal surge, your number one straight nuke, and your ultimate, mainly your ultimate. That is what you got max for. The rest of the time you'd be happy to hover at 2/3. So essentially people will probably want to stay at max all the time now. I mean, I was happy at 2/3 with 20%, but I think that this is probably necessary, but we'll have to see whether they put it back up. I think they might put it to 25. I don't think they'll put it back to 30, but we'll just have to see how it goes. Now this is going back to Ra. Celestial Beam, the base damage ability has been increased from 95 to 295, to 95 to 335. So the base damage has gone up by 40 at the end game. Hopefully this will contribute for the fact that they took out double hitting, but we'll just have to see. And here's another thing we've seen with Ra. His Solar Blessing's undergone changes recently. The base healing has been increased. It's not where it used to be, but it's up to 42 instead of 30. They've kept the scaling the same, but the base will be a bit higher, which is good. We need. It did seem a lot weaker, and he was weaker in competitive play. But now, hopefully, he'll be back in a competitive scene with just this little thing. Also, the damage has been increased by 8 at the top level, from 60 to 68. So that's also another little change, which is which is not too significant, but it helps. It helps Ra continue to be competitive, because he is a very popular competitive play character. Right? You hardly see a ranked game without him in it nowadays. But it's just something that you can see very easily how he can be, how he's been nerfed. He was nerfed in his Solar Blessings healing. That was what everyone noticed. Not necessarily the damage, it was the healing that everyone noticed. And the Celestial Beam not hitting twice was something that everyone noticed as made him weaker. But making him more uniform, like always hit as one hit, is a good thing. I'm not denying that that's a good thing, and I'm glad to see they're trying to keep him as a competitive god, because he is essentially what the meta is based around at the moment. He is a solid part of the meta. Tanky Ra, damage Ra, lots of things. He's a very, very popular god, and he's very good at support and mid, so he's very versatile. Anyway, just quickly go over the general of the hotfix before we leave. The fixed an issue where game stats not being recorded correctly. Fixed a crash related to minion death FX. Fixed issue with Fury death getting stuck in air, which is so funny. Fixed. Well, I'm actually sad to see that go. Fixed an issue with new players not getting free rotation during first match. Fixed issue with first rental not unlocking icon. Spectator UI fixes with Fire Giant and Gold Fury status, and fixed server crash issues in training map. So essentially they're fixing server crashes, and I'm glad because I was getting crashes. Hopefully I'm not. Anyway. This has been Sarah from Defection Gaming, bringing you the patches for the 15th and 13th of March 2013. Enjoy Aphrodite, guys. I hope that you have a very pleasant day, and keep smiting. Please rate, comment, and subscribe if you like my content. And as always, my testy character Sergath is more than happy to, because I play test on him. I'm more than happy to accept friend requests and play with you as you want, and maybe you could help me get an Aphrodite gameplay for fun. As always, guys, thank you very, very much for watching, and check out Smite TV. It is very good. They've got very, very good players on there, and I've learned stuff from watching it, so I'm glad. I think everyone can learn a thing or two from the great players that they've got playing on Smite TV. Anyway, thank you very much for watching again, guys, and